Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our bicycle paper sculpture. Now, of course, the focal point of this is a bicycle with baskets full of flowers, and we've sort of set it on the scene of, let's say, a little pier near the ocean or the sea, whatever you want to make it. So we're going to start off by putting together the main part of the bike, okay? And of course, we're going to be doing some layering here just to make sure that our bike is nice and stiff and, well, so that it can support all of the weight of all the little flowers and such. Ultimately, we're going to foam square this onto the background, but for now, we're going to first start off by taking these two layers. When they cut out, they're going to be the same exact color. And instead of trying to get every single inch of this glued in one fell swoop, I think it's probably best that we kind of break it up into maybe just do half of it because it is kind of a flexible piece. We can kind of pull it away from the other section and apply glue to the other half once it's in place. And that way we don't have to try to align everything perfectly. You just work on just the back section here. So get that lined up. And now there's another piece that looks like this, but it's a different color. So don't get that confused. Make sure you're grabbing the right piece. Okay, there we go. And press that down. Perfect. Okay, so now this is what I was saying. You can take this piece and just peel it back and apply the glue to the rest of the surface, like so. We don't have to get glue on every inch of it, just as long as we get some on there. That glue, as we press it down, will sort of move around a little bit and work its way out towards the edges. Okay. Some of these little areas here are kind of free floating, so just make sure that if they want to move in a direction you don't want them to move, just readjust them, push them back into place. Okay. All right, next, this is where we're going to grab this same layer. It's almost identical, not quite. The only difference is you can see here one of the handlebars is not covered, and then a little bit of the axle part is not showing, or is showing actually. So we'll do the same thing here. We're going to do just half of it. So go ahead and begin applying your glue, like so. There we go. We'll go up to the seat, bring it down to the chain guard, get a little bit over here, stop right about there. I think that's a good place. And hold it steady. Let's line that up as accurately as possible. There we go. Press that down into place. Perfect so far. There we go. Okay, we'll take this and let's peel it back. And we can just apply glue to the previous layer instead of trying to finagle this around. And there we go. Apply a little glue there. And then, of course, you got to be careful not to apply glue to the little handlebar on top. So just do the bottom one. There we go. Get that all lined up. The little fender here, again, that's kind of free flowing, so you may need to give it a slight adjustment to make sure it sits in the right spot. There we go. Okay. All right, so that's good. And next, we're going to add the patterned color. It's going to go right on top. And I think, we should probably just continue doing the same thing. This time, let's start in the front where we have the basket. It's a bigger part that we can use to kind of anchor everything in place. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll just do half the bike starting from the front this time. Okay, get some on the fender there. There we go, and we'll stop right around halfway. Maybe we'll just do this little spot there. Okay, and I'm going to start with the basket here, since it's a nice large piece that I can really grip. There we go. Perfect. Okay, looking good, looking good. I'll pull this back and let's apply glue to the rest of it. Let's make sure we're not putting glue in places that don't need it. Okay, so we don't need to put any glue on the bottom part of the pedal and the little crankshaft. And then we only need to put glue up to here. There we go. Pop that down. I tried my best to ink this piece. It's kind of hard to get into some of these little crevices. I did my best, and it's hardly noticeable, but it's okay. I can still tell it's there. I know it's there. And it does make a little bit of a difference. Okay, so while we're down here, we have this little black piece for the pedal. So we can get that glued into place. And that's just going to go right here, like so. I didn't do anything special to that since it's black. Not really much you can do as far as inking and such. So just left that alone. There's a little circle for the middle of, I think it's called a crankshaft. I used to fix my own bikes when I was a little kid. Now I have a Trek that I bought probably 15 years ago, and I haven't had to do anything to it. So anyway, this is not an ad for Trek, but they sure do make nice bikes. All right, let's put the seat in place. Nice brown color. I inked that as well. Anywhere I could, I added a touch of ink, and that's going to go right there, like so. Beautiful. Okay, we have a brown and a dark brown for the handlebars. So just make sure that you're using the correct one. In my case, the brown, the lighter brown, is the one that goes on the bottom, and it's thicker on the right-hand side. Okay, so the thinner part is going to the left, the thicker part on the right. And then the darker brown, you'll notice that if you look at it, one part of it is just flat. The other part's round. It's rounded on the corners, but there's one that's significantly more flat. That's going to be the bottom. The flat part is going on the bottom. Okay, and this is too dark of a brown, so I didn't even worry about inking it or anything. Just left it alone. Okay, there we go. Okay, next, you can put the little chain guard on here. This is a beautiful gold foil. Just want to match that up with the, what's it called? The shadow layer, sorry. Sometimes as I'm focusing on what I'm doing, one of the processors in my brain turns off. That's responsible for guiding you through speech, and sort of malfunctions there for a second, but we always get back on track. Okay, there we go. Chain guard is in place. And now we also have two little purple circles that are going to go right here where the wheels will ultimately connect. And the wheels are actually going to get attached behind the actual frame of the bike, so we can put this down right now without having to worry about it. Okay, do the other one. Almost has a little bit of a modern 80s vibe to it, which is cool. Okay, all right, so let's get the flower baskets installed. And this is going to work like this. Okay, this one's going right on there. It's going to be flush with the frame. So let's get that glued into place. go. And of course you can see the two little balls up at the top, or half circles I should say. Those are there to help you with the placement of the flowers. It's also a good point of reference for gluing this down. And now for this basket here, we don't need to put any glue on the little wire portion that's sticking off. So just make sure you put glue on the main part, but don't put any glue on the wire portion, and just try to get that half circle matched up as accurately as you can. Okay, there we go. All right, all right. Let's see, we have these two little, that's for later. That's for the wheel. We'll do the flowers last. Okay, so now obviously this one here is gonna get glued down like this. And we just wanna match up the wire portion and like the little half circle. Okay, and the rest of these little blobs here are to help you with the placement of the flowers. So we only need to put glue, I need to put glue on the wire portion and then this little half circle. You can do that, and then this is pretty delicate here, so you're gonna have to just try to get some glue on there, and then what I'm gonna do is just hit it with my finger to thin it out so it doesn't bleed through. It's a little tricky, but not really. As long as you dab it with your finger and get that excess off, you shouldn't get any bleed through to the front. Okay, so again, my focal point right now is the little wire along the perimeter as well as that little half circle there. Okay, and again, if you do get a little bleed from the glue, it'll be covered with flowers, so it's not a big deal. Okay, and then finally, the back basket here. Now this one's gonna be a little bit different, okay, because a little bit of that brown is gonna be showing, well, I guess it's not different. Just use this part of the rim of the bike as kind of your guide, okay? And just like we did with the other basket, we'll need to apply the glue and just kind of dab it with our fingers just to make sure that it doesn't bleed through. And you don't need to get every inch of the little basket covered with glue. It's not gonna happen. But if you just kind of dab it with your finger, it'll spread that glue around and it'll prevent any buildup and excess glue from spilling out onto the surface of our brown piece. Okay, so I'm using the frame here at the bottom as my guide for initial placement. That looks good. And the rest of it can just pop right into place. And if you get a little bit of spillage, just pick it up with your finger. No harm, no foul. And there we go. Okay. All right, so that looks good. Now let's take a look at the wheels. Obviously there's two, it's a bike. So this process is gonna be the same for both. We have two layers for the black, and we're just gonna glue them on top of each other, very simple. And I was thinking about this as I was just kind of doing a dry run in my head. I almost think that maybe you don't even need to put glue on the spokes. I don't think it's necessary, honestly. I think we'll just do that and not worry about making a mess, because the center and the outside will kind of hold everything together. And if I'm wrong, I will recut this and I will do it again, but I think that it'll be fine. I don't think it really needs it. There we go. Yeah, and I think it's fine. It's not like it's gonna break or anything because of that. All right, now with this white layer, I think I am gonna put glue on the spokes, just because I don't want there to be any separation there. So we will do that. Again, this is gonna be a little tricky. You've got a lot of surface area to cover, so move quickly before things dry out and just try to get a little bit of glue on these spokes. And then of course, because they're so thin, I'm just gonna hit that with my finger. Just gonna dab it, spread that glue around, and thin out any areas where there's some excess so it doesn't bleed through. And line it up where the reflector would be, obviously. Use that as your reference point. It's kind of hard to see when it's flat on my dark mat. So I'm gonna pick it up. And of course you have the little circle in the center, a little cutout to help you with the placement as well. And I've got a little bit of the black showing through, and that's probably because of the difference in thickness of paper, and that's okay. I'm not concerned about that. No one's going to notice that really. And I think I've said this many times during this assembly video. These machines, as amazing as they are, still can't cut circles. So that could factor in. All right, put your little reflector on there. It's kind of like a sprinkle shape, and it does curve upwards ever so slightly. So make sure you get it in the correct orientation, just like that, okay? So it doesn't really matter if you put that on the front or the back. I'm gonna put this one on the front. And you can use a little brad to actually secure it. And let's see, I'm hoping that the brad's little feet back here, yeah, if they're too long and they poke through, use an old scissor that you don't care about. You should be able to cut this with a scissor. And then the wheels actually still spin. There you go. Yeah, it's really thin metal, so you can cut it just as long as it's hidden back there. Let's see. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so there's that. And I mean, obviously, if this is going to be behind glass, it's kind of pointless for it to spin, but I figured we'd add that little touch. Why not? All right, so I'm going to put the other wheel together. Oh, you know what? Actually, I forgot to put something on there. Good thing that we didn't glue this down. There's a little trim piece that we need to add around the perimeter too. Okay, so that's going to go around the inside perimeter like this. All right, so another fun, challenging little piece here. Just go easy on the glue. Just try to get as much as you can on there. And then I'm going to go around again with my finger, just kind of dabbing it. And I actually did a good job there. And do your best to get that aligned right along the inside edge of the rim. Good job, Leo. Look at you. You look like you know what you're doing. I'm just kidding, I do. Cool. Yep, that looks good. Much better. Sorry about that. Forgot about that. Okay, so we can poke that back through. Come on there, Rye. There we go. All right, so the majority of the bike is done. We've got one more wheel to put together, and I think I'm going to do it the same way, where I just do the outside here, and the inside, just on the black part. Let's get that lined up. There we go. Press that down. Now let's grab the rim portion, and this one we will cover completely. Go nice and easy with the glue here. A little bit in the center, and then just quick little strokes down the spokes. There we go. And don't forget just to kind of dab that with your finger on any little areas where that glue came out a little too strong so it doesn't bleed onto our black surface here. All right, I'm going to hold it up like this. Sometimes I wish this matte, actually I think the other side is a little brighter, but it doesn't really go with the overall colors in the studio, so I just leave it like this. Okay, and then finally this little trim piece. Again, nice and easy all the way around. There we go. And just match that up with the inside edge. There we go. Nice and easy. If you are using foil like I am, just be careful that you don't have glue all over your fingers, as once you get it on that foil, it's not very forgiving. Okay, I'll press down from the other side so I don't accidentally blemish it. That looks good. All right, so let me make sure I'm matching my brads correctly here. I'll give the end of that a snip. Sometimes when they put paint on these and glitter, it kind of closes them shut. I thought I was going to deal with that here, but luckily I don't have to. Oops. It goes behind. Otherwise, what would be the point of that pink piece? There we go. And now we get to make some flowers. Oh, let's not forget our little reflector. This little guy. And pop that right on there. There we go. Okay. Spread those apart, and there we go. Okay, so the bike is pretty much done, minus, again, the little flowers. And we're going to put those together, kind of one step at a time. I'll go over and share a few tips with you here and there. So why don't we do this? Why don't we just build it from the bottom up? And over here, on this big half circle, we have this little set of leaves. And to give this a little more dimension, can take and kind of curl them up. So I'm just placing the edge, or kind of the base of this leaf between my finger and the dowel, lifting it up about 90 degrees and running the dowel through. I'll do the same thing on the other side. And then how about we do just the tip on the other end, or on the opposite side. So we've got it kind of going up and then down, okay? And this one's gonna get glued right here. And we want this, the tip of this leaf, to be just to the right of the basket. Okay, so just apply some glue just on this little circle part, like so. And pop it into place right there. There we go. Okay. We have, you see this little blob there. Okay. Let's just sort these so that we can more easily identify what's what by size. Okay. Because some of them are kind of similar, but not exactly. And we've got these, got these. These are going to go on the insides of the flowers, so I won't count those. These are the base layers, so we'll just focus on those for now. Okay, so hopefully you can see all those there. And on the bottom here, on the bottom right, there's a set with just 2 petals. It's this one here. Okay, and if you want, this one's going to require a little bit of a thinner dowel. You can go ahead and do the same thing with that set of leaves to kind of make them come out and curve them out. Okay, and you can see there's kind of like a little half circle there, and then basically the shadow of this leaf. So you know exactly where it goes. Okay, so we can actually just put glue right on those little spots right there. And that's going to go right there. Just pop that right into place. Okay, same goes with this guy here. This one is going to be this little guy here. Got a large leaf on the right hand side, 2 smaller leaves on the left. Let's give that a little bit of a curve just to give it some life. Okay, and then as you can see, match up the circle. Do I have that right? Yeah, I do. There we go, just like that. Okay, and we can just put some glue right here on the little circle there. And just pop that right into place. There'll be a little bit of that white showing through on the bottom, and that's okay. Perfect, okay. So that's it as far as the green goes on that side. So we'll move over to the other basket on the other side. And this little section here is going to use this little guy. Okay, so go ahead and give that a little bit of a curve. And I also inked this with a little bit of a darker green. Okay, so you can see there's a little half circle there, and then this leaf kind of goes right there, like that. Okay, and if it's not exactly like I have it, it's not a huge deal. But for the most part, you want to follow along because we've made just enough space for everything to, you know, have its own little moment in the sun, so to speak. Okay, so for this little doodad thing there, you'll notice that these two kind of have the same shapes going up the center. We're going to put the pattern down first, and that's going to pretty much go completely onto that little shadow element there, with the exception of the little leaves that we have coming out. Those, even though I said not to, I just put glue on them, but it's not going to harm anything. So just line that up with the little placeholders there, and then this guy here needs to go right on top of that little white guy, just like that, okay? And then we're going to take this piece, and you can take and actually flare these little leaves out if you want. You don't have to, but I think it would look nice. And that's going to go right on top of this one. And literally all that does is just kind of creates a secondary flower behind this darker green. Okay, so just focus the glue on the center here. You don't need to put any glue on the little leaves that are coming off to the side. Just like that. And let's line that up as accurately as we can. And if a little bit of that light green shows through, it's not the end of the world. It'll still look nice. Okay. All right, so remember, we didn't put any glue on these leaves here. And now we're gonna do the same thing with this little guy. And we're gonna put the pattern down first, and then the solid, like that. Okay. So let's do that. And as you can see here, when we superimpose this on there, we don't need to put any glue on the little leaves that are sticking off of it, just the stems and the little circle. But you want to go all the way to the top here where that little circle is in the center of the plant, or the flower, I should say. Okay, so just line that up. This is pretty thick, so it shouldn't be difficult at all. Okay, and then we're going to go here, put this layer on now, and again, same thing with this one actually. Let me see. Yeah, just put glue on the stems and the circles. That's all we need to do. Just focus the glue there. Make sure you don't put any glue on anything else, because you don't want to inhibit or prevent us from getting into little areas that we're going to need to get into here. And I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? We have here, this is where this guy is going to go now. Okay, and okay, and you'll notice that on this piece, there's one leaf that's a little bit smaller than the other ones. That one's going to be going off to the left. Okay, so let's do that. And just kind of follow, there's a little circle there, and that's just going to go right there. So pop your little glue there onto that circle. There we go. And then finally, we have this guy. That's all that's left. The leaves are going to be pointing down, and we can take and curl them up or down, whichever way you want to go. Maybe I'll curl it up and then just the tip of it curled down a little bit. And then this one, I'm going to curl this one down. There we go. Okay. And again, the tips of the leaves are going to be pointing down on this one, off to the side just a little bit, like that, roughly. That's fine. Each one's going to be a little bit different. There's no way you'll see two of these projects exactly the same with the flowers in the same setup. Okay, so that's it for the greenery. And now it's just a matter of putting our flowers together. I'm going to start off with the largest flower over on the right-hand side, and it's two-toned. Both sets of petals are pretty much the same size. Okay. So here, let me show you here. We've got two of these, And these are different colors, 2 different colors. So there's 3 flowers that look like this, and they're all different sizes, but obviously we want to use the ones that are the same size but different colors together to form one flower. I'll use the darker color for the background and do the lighter color for the foreground. I wish I had a dowel that was somewhere in between. I'll go with this. Okay, and just like we did, be very careful here not to rip this away from the center, but go ahead and just hold it right at the base there and place the dowel between your finger and the petal, and right about at the base, lift it about 90 degrees and just run that dowel through, and do that for all the petals. Whoops, careful. Almost ripped it. I've done that before when I was making flowers. I have ripped them. Okay, so there we go. Just to give them a little bit of life, we'll do the same thing on the lighter color. Okay. There we go. Okay, so what we'll do here is take and apply some glue to the center of the flower, just one little dot. And take this one, I'm going to pop it right into the center, but we want to offset the petals so that they're not sitting right on top of each other. We want there to be enough separation to where each petal is as visible as it can be. Okay, there we go. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. Then we can also just kind of take and lift up the middle or the top layer to create a little separation. I would wait to do that because we have to put these little guys in place. Okay, so we've got a solid color and then a pattern. We're going to glue the pattern inside of the solid color. This is going to be like a faux little stamen or center. Almost looks like a sunflower kind of. Pop that right in the middle. And then you can actually, if you want to add some dimension to this, grab a little foam square and just pop it right on the back. And that will help kind of give this thing some additional dimension. Oh, the center of that kind of shifted on me, but that's okay. Stuff happens, right? Okay, so then go ahead and throw a little bit of glue right on there. We'll take this little guy and just make sure you get him nice and centered on that circle. So there's a circle on the back of this, and there's a circle here. Obviously, it's kind of tough to gauge whether or not you've got it perfectly centered, but there we go. That looks great. Okay, and now over here on this flower, we're going to find, let's get these shapes so that we can see them by size. There's a total of 4 that look like this, and the two smallest ones, actually I think these 2 are the same size, but the 2 smallest ones are going to go on the left side of the bike, which leaves these 2, and this guy is the biggest of the 4. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with him or her, and just going to curl the petals in to give them a little bit of life. I also inked every single flower in this project, because that's how I roll. I like how they look. When they're nice and inked, it really brings them to life. Otherwise, they look pretty flat and not so interesting. Okay, so that is going to get glued right in there. And I would probably put a petal in between the leaves just to kind of create a little separation so that everything is getting a little attention. Okay, and then we're going to find, since this is the largest one, you'll notice these little sort of like star-shaped pieces. This one's super tiny. That one's a different color. Those are darker. This one is a lighter color. And you know what, honestly, if you don't use the exact correct one, it's not the end of the world. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that you do, okay? So we're going to start off with the largest shape that looks like this, okay? And then inside of that is going to be a darker color, and you want to find the largest of the darker color. So that's going to go with that one. Okay, these 2 look kind of the same, which means that this little guy and this little guy, since they're about the same size, are going to go with that one. And then this is the smallest, and that's the smallest version of that one. So those are all going to go together. And then we have these are more round shapes, so we'll save those for later. But this big one and this darker one is going to go in the center of this guy. Just get that nice and lined up in the center, like so. And then you can either glue that down or use a little foam square if you want. I think with this, since it's so small, I'm just going to glue that down flat. I don't think that needs too much dimension there. There we go. Okay. And then down here, we've got this flower. So again, we're going to take and just kind of curl these petals back. That dowel's way too big, or too small, I should say. It's curling it too much to where I'm not seeing the surface of it, and I don't want to do that. Okay, and we'll throw a little dot of glue right there, and put this flower right here. Offset it, so that's one of the petals is between the two leaves. There we go. Okay, so remember we had two flowers like this that were about the same size, and these are the little centers here. So we're going to take one set. The bottom layer is the lighter shade. The darker layer is the smaller one for the inside. So we'll just pop that in there. And I'm going to glue this one down flat. That's going to go right there. Perfect. Okay, so moving on over to the other side. I'm going to start off with this back layer actually. What do we have here? We got some of these little tropical flowers. Okay, so these little star-shaped ones. Let's grab these real quick. And there's two sizes. Okay, there's a smaller one and a larger one. We're going to take these, pretty delicate, so be careful. We're going to do the same thing, just kind of pinch or place each of the petals between your finger and the dowel. And I may actually roll these in a little bit more because that's not really doing much. There we go. And we're just going to glue these together, offset them so that they look nice and full. And those just have simple green centers. Okay, so just pull those in. That kind of separated there. That was weird. Well, I was happy to hear that 12 by 12 cardstock finally got their shipment of American Crafts colors that they were having a hard time keeping in stock. I'm not sure what's going on with all that, but it's kind of a bummer when you can't find paper, but it's okay. All right, so there we go. So there's that one. And then we're gonna grab, let me see here, which one is that? No, actually it's this little guy. So that little guy is gonna go there, and then this little guy is gonna go with the smaller one. So we just need to throw a little glue on here. It's the same color as the little star-shaped center, the back layer for this flower. Okay, so just pop that right in there. That's very pretty. What a great color combination. Okay, and we've got these two little circles here. There's one here and one here. The larger one's going to go right here. And you can tell that because the circle's larger. Okay, so that's a good indicator as to where that's going to go. It's going to go right there, like so. We'll do the same thing with the smaller one. So let's get that curled. And you could probably just take this and just kind of wrap it in your fingers to get them to go forward. It's not going to give them a nice curve at the end, but it'll at least bring them to life. I'm going to curl them. Actually, I like that. I like how that looks better. So again, just taking each of the little petals, placing them between my finger and the dowel, curling them towards me. Okay. And there we go. Just like that. Okay. Throw a little dot of glue right in the center. Grab the other one, pop it in there, make sure you offset it so that the petals are not right on top of each other. Okay, I'm just using another little tool here to help me create that separation. It's a pretty small piece. This would be a good time to use my, what's it called? My pick-me-up tool, but I think I could do it by hand. Yeah, maybe not. Let's grab the old pick-me-up tool. Where are you, buddy? There you are. When your fingers are too small, or too big, I should say, it's a good tool to have. Okay, so we're going to use the little pick-me-up tool. And pardon my head there for a second. There we go. Much better. Perfect. Okay, we'll grab the little center for that as well. Throw a little dot of glue on there. And I think they actually brought this tool back, Silhouette did. I swear I thought I saw it available, and I think we may have added it in the Go-To Tools section of our app. Could be wrong, but I swear I saw it back. I know Silhouette hasn't really been, we did a poll recently. There are more Brother ScanNCut users than Silhouette users lately. It's so nuts because they used to dominate, and then Cricut came back and regained their throne, which they owned for quite some time. So pretty interesting stuff going on in the craft world. Okay, so we've got those two flowers in place. We're going to go back here to these guys. Now these guys here, we have a total of 3 different colors, 3 different sizes. Okay, this little guy back here, backmost layer, is the smallest one, which I have in like an orange color. Okay, and he's going to go on however you want him to go on. And I can just curl those petals in just like we've been doing, just to give them a little bit of dimension. Don't need to go crazy with it. There we go. And I'm going to put them in right there like that. Just a little dot of glue in that little circle. And you want to make sure, again, that you offset it so that the leaves are visible in between each of the petals. And now we also have this set of little stamens. They almost look like little frog hands. I think it's the best way I can explain it. I'm going to go ahead and use my pick-me-up tool for this because it is another little delicate piece. And just throw a tiny little drop of glue on there. Dab that with my finger. And it's going to go off to the left a little bit, like that. That looks good. Okay, and next we've got this one here, and that is the second largest of these two. This one's slightly bigger, that one's a little bit smaller. Okay, go ahead and curl those petals towards you a little bit. Okay, and I like him, again, I want to offset this so that you can see those beautiful leaves back there to create a nice contrast between this beautiful pink and the green. I guess you can't really go wrong with any color when it comes to flowers in nature. Okay, grab the second largest little frog looking hand, or like a gecko hand. I guess that's kind of what it looks like to me. It's a stamen, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, pop that right in the center there. Okay, you can angle it pretty much whichever direction you want. It's a flower. It's growing whichever way it wants, whichever way gravity pulls it. Okay, so the last one here, this is the largest of the 3 tropical looking flowers. And again, we're going to place that one here. We just want to make sure that we offset it so that you can see all of the bright green leaves behind it. So all we're trying to do here is just kind of create depth. There we go. That looks good. And then finally, the small stamen. Let's get that. And whatever tool you have to. There we go. Beautiful. All right, so now all that's left is we have 2 more of these little sunflower guys. And this is going to go for the large one. This is going to go for the small one. And then, of course, we have these pieces for these 2 flowers. So we're almost done here. All right, so let's build the big one here. I use the darker color for the back like we did the first time. I'm gonna curl these leaves towards you. Careful not to rip the petals. I guarantee someone is going to rip one of these petals when you go to train these. And if you rip it after I told you to be careful, leave a comment. I promise I won't laugh at you. Man, one time I ripped a petal and I was like, oh boy, I was actually literally telling myself don't rip the petal right at the second I did it. So if it happens, it happens. Don't be hard on yourself. It happens to the best of us. Okay, there we go. So we already made one of these flowers. We made it over here. It was just on a larger scale, so not a big deal. Okay, at this point, I might as well just use my pick-me-up tool. And I'm never, you know, it's weird. I'm always making these projects and I barely ever have them right above my line of sight. I'm always looking at them from like weird angles. So sometimes I'm actually surprised that things come out as well as they do. Okay, there we go. It's pretty accurate. Okay, and then of course we have, for this one, we have the little green, the large green circle that's a solid color. And then we have the pattern, which is a lighter green that's going to go on the inside. Give that like a nice two-toned look. Try to get that as centered as you can. And then for this one, let me see if I can fit a foam square on the back of this. Yeah, let's do it. That looks cool. All right. Pop that foam square in there. Get that nice and dimensional. Once we have this all done, as far as the flowers go, we can take and create some more separation between these two layers, just to let those shadows kind of play with the petals a little bit, create some more depth. Okay, but this large one's going to go right here. So just throw a little dot of glue right there and pop him into place. We have one more of these little guys to put together, and for this small one, rather than running the dowel through, I'm just going to pinch the tip between my finger and the dowel and just roll it towards me just to be safe, because this is even thinner than the last one. So there's that. And then we have one more. Remember, in my case, the darker layer is in the back. You don't have to do it that way, but if you want to follow along, that's why I'm telling you every little detail. There we go. Beautiful. Grab that pick-me-up tool, grab the lighter layer, and this time you can put the glue on this one, you can put the glue on that one, doesn't really matter. It's all going to end up in the same place anyway. Okay, don't forget to offset the petals a little bit. Make sure they're all getting their time in the sun, as I say. And then we have the solid green, and we have the patterned light green going on top of the solid green to create a two-toned center of the flower. And this one's so small, I'm not going to put a foam square on that one. That one's just going to go down flat. I can move that with my little hibachi stick, press down. There we go. And again, I will create more separation later once I have everything pretty much put together. We'll pop that right in there. There we go. And that just leaves these two, which are these two little flowers here. And you can tell that the bigger set of leaves there is obviously going to take the larger flower. Just curl those petals in. Do the same thing with this one so I can finally put my dowel to rest. You did good today, dowel. I'm proud of you. Oops. Okay. And don't forget that we have a lighter and a darker little star shape. The darker one obviously goes inside of the lighter. So just do a little drop of glue on the smaller one. Pop that right into the center. Get that as centered as possible. There we go, perfect. And for this guy here, I'm going to use a pick-me-up tool. This really keeps you sharp. This is good for me. keeps my motor skills on point. This is why I'm good at stupid yard games all the time, I think, because I can really focus on things. Maybe that's my secret. Maybe that's why I'm always beating everyone. Okay, so this one obviously is going to go right here, and we may need to kind of move the pedals on that one above it ever so slightly. Make sure you offset it a little bit so that the pedals are not fighting. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. These are fighting. Bring that down. Okay, that's fine like that. And let's put this in the center. I forgot to do that. It's okay. It's never too late. There we go. Maybe just bring that up a little bit. That looks good. All right, and the final little guy here. Just throw a little bit of glue on that last set of patterned leaves. He's going right there. Whoops. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's fine. And then finally, this little guy. Okay. And that's going right in the center of this guy. Beautiful. Okay, so that's it. That's a lot of little beautiful detail on this bike, but again, that's our main focal point. We're also including some bonus captions for this. So once you get this inside of your frame, you can, obviously add a beautiful caption with some vinyl to really set it off. Okay, so we've got a couple more things we got to do here before we get this mounted. And first off, we have kind of a natural, let me move this out of the way for a second. We're going to flip this, we're going to let this dry first, but we're going to end up flipping that over and just using a series of strategically cut foam squares. You're going to need to apply those. Okay, so we have two of these white layers. In my case, one of them is a beautiful white pearlescent. Okay, so obviously I'm going to feature that on top. We're doing 2 layers on this because we want this to be nice and sturdy. Okay, and then rather than trying to glue this entire thing in one fell swoop, just like we've done throughout this process here, especially with the bike frame, I'm going to just kind of maybe just do half of it at once, half at a time. Okay, what's going on with my glue here? Well, let's test it out. There we go. Now it's flowing. Okay, I'm just going to kind of do a little zigzag pattern on this. And I guess I'm going all the way. It kind of helps that it's on my surface. You can break it into 2 segments if you want. So apply glue to just half, up to the middle roughly. See, I shouldn't have done that because now it's going to be a lot harder to get it into position. Just lay it down and then just pick it up and just using your fingers to kind of feel the edges to make sure that everything is nice and lined up. Okay, and that actually worked out not too bad. There we go. For this, I would definitely, if I can find it real quick, find it fast enough, there it is, grab your brayer and use that brayer to really spread that glue around. There we go. There we go. All right, so now this layer is actually going to get glued onto our gold layer here, and that's going to leave a little bit of a sort of double matte sort of look. Now with this, I think I am going to go and just break this in half. Okay, so I'm going to just start in the middle here and just kind of zigzag it just on half the frame. Especially because I'm putting it on foil. Foil is very unforgiving if I mess up and I don't get it right the first time. If I try to adjust it, it's not gonna forgive me if I mess up. Okay, so I'm going up here in the corner and up to this corner. I'd rather go higher than lower, and I just went too low. And let's see if I messed up. Nope, wow. All right, well, the angels are looking over me. Okay, so I've got that half in place. Okay, so all that's left to do now is apply the glue to the other half of this, and this will just kind of naturally fall into place now since we have the top half already glued down. We just literally just drop it in place. It just makes it so much easier. Okay, we'll flip it over just in case. We need to kind of give it a little nudge here or there. There we go, beautiful. Okay, so we've got a nice little matted frame, pretty much ready to go. You can see here that the foil is kind of pulling at the other paper. Flatten it out a bit. Okay, all right, so now what we need to do, we have one more little thing to assemble here, and that's our little pier. So I went with a dark background with a little bit of a lighter wood. And I think I can get this down in one shot here. Let me put this down on my surface. It'll just make it easier. I'm gonna go around the perimeter first, since that's where I have to be the most careful. There we go. Little curly Q there, straight line there. Let's hit this with a little bit in these little areas here. And then just kind of hit that with a little bit of glue. Okay. And just want to match this up with the little fenced area up at the top. I'm just going to use my table to kind of help me with the initial placement at least. There we go. Press that down. Had a little bit of glue squirt out there. That's okay. And the cardstock piece here actually has some markers to help us with the positioning of the bike. So that will go nice and smooth for us. And then we just have this little piece to overlay on top. Let me put that down on my surface. I think it'll just be easier. Just do a nice straight line, and that glue will spread out. Okay, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory where this is going to go. It's just going to go right here, like so. Okay, and press that down into place. Give that a little nudge to the left or to the right. There we go. Okay, so now what we need to do, this is the background that we chose. It's kind of like a little sunset situation here going on. And we have this little corner piece. What we're going to do with that is place it in the corner. And actually, yeah, we're going to need to do this on the bottom, only the bottom, because, well, there's really nothing to put up at the top. Because this is going to go right in here like this. Okay, so you can use that and use that little corner piece. And I'm going to try to find a light marker. Let's see, maybe something real thin and light. Oh boy, let's see here. Let's go with a little yellow maybe, so it blends in. So pop that right in the corner, and then just draw yourself a little marker right in this little corner here. Kind of like a backwards L there. And then I'll put this here. And just draw the same thing there. And that's just to help you with the centering of this piece. Okay, because this piece is going to go down flat, but we want to make sure that we get it nice and aligned based on those markers. Okay, so that is going down flat. So let's get that glued into place. And I'm not overly concerned about perfection here. I just need this thing to stay put. Whoops, wow, that was a lot of glue there. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm starting to get a little tired here. I've been crafting since like 10 a.m. this morning. That's typical on release day. I'm gonna dab that so it doesn't go squirting out. even though it's dimensional, it's very unlikely that it's going to actually hit the surface of the paper. But nevertheless, I'll grab this piece now, and using those little markers, pop that right into position so that we get it nice and centered. And press that down. I'm going to grab my brayer, press that down. And maybe I spoke a little too soon. Had a little bit of glue kind of shot off in there, but that's okay. I think the bike's going to hide most of that. All right, next, we're going to grab this little natural frame, and that's going to go like this, right on here. Should get it nice and centered. Should cover up pretty much the whole thing there. So we're going to flip this over, and now we want to raise that up so it's elevated so that we can create some depth there, okay? Let me take a look at, see how that looks. That looks fine, okay? So let me see if I have any more of these. Yes, I do. These are my favorite because the backs peel off of them very easily. So obviously we're going to start in the corners because those are important. And then in the middle of each of the sections. And this is how you spread them out as evenly as possible. And then we go in the middle of those. It doesn't have to be a perfect science, and then we'll go in the middle of these. Okay, and then if we want, well actually, yeah, I'm just gonna go really heavy with these here because I wanna make sure that I don't get any warping or bending around this frame. So these are relatively inexpensive. You can get like a pack for like 1,000 of them for like $6 on Amazon or something. So I won't be stingy with these, especially, I really love this project. I think you guys are going to love it too. I think that's enough. All right, so let's peel off the backs on all these. Okay, there we go. And that sound you heard was losing, what did we lose? Our YouTube numbers are fluctuating a lot. You get over, it's like 10 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes that happens. So if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, which according to statistics, there's like, I think 50-something% of people that watch, actually more than 50% of you that watch my videos do not subscribe. So if we had all 53 of those, 53% more subscribers, we'd have over 100,000. And I would be the YouTube king in this area, which would be pretty cool, especially around my kids who think that YouTubers are awesome. So if you can, hit that subscribe button so I can finally get the respect I deserve in this house. I'm obviously kidding, but not really. Maybe I'm not totally kidding. Okay, so just line that up. Use the previous layer as kind of a guide for placement. There we go. That looks good. And you know what? Adding those extra little foam squares really just makes sure that everything stays nice and flush. And beautiful little frame there. And now it's time to flip over our bike. Be careful not to smush down the flowers too much. And we're going to begin putting foam squares on our bike here, because we need to use some foam squares to create some nice dimension on the entire piece. And I don't think I'm going to put any foam squares on the flowers themselves. I don't want them to like rip. And the wheels, they spin. You can leave them like that if you want. Let's say you're not going to put a piece of glass in here, then where is my, let's take a look at something here. Yeah. Okay, and then remember, you can always take and just with a scissor, while they're still on the backing, you can cut these into smaller pieces so that we can, for example, put some on these thin little areas so that those don't go bending in or out. And again, you know what, the black foam squares, they really kind of hide better. Not that you really see too much of this, but I think that's probably enough. Maybe we'll add some to the frame here. Maybe do one more here. Why don't we put one on the pedal just in case? And I think that's probably good. Okay, so now on the actual dark part of the frame, of the what's it called, the boardwalk here, you'll notice that there's a set of little markers. These markers are for the tires. That's for the pedal. Okay, and that's also for the tire, but for like the bottom part of the tire. So you're going to want to focus on mostly this one right here where the pedal goes, and then the two tires. And that'll help you with making sure that you get that nice and centered. Okay, and again, if you're not planning on making the wheels spin, you can add some foam squares to the wheels, which I think I'm going to do because I want this to be nice and solid. So again, if you're going to make the wheels spin, just omit that. But I don't really care if the wheels spin or not, because I'm going to put this behind some glass because we have some captions that we're going to be adding to this as well. And I really don't plan on opening this thing up to have the wheels spin. Okay, so again, there's like a backwards L here, and that's where the pedal goes. And then, of course, you've got one down here on the bottom left where the bottom of the tire is going to go. And the rest of it just kind of falls into place like that. So let's see. Yep, there she is. Beautiful. All right, let's put it in a frame and see what it looks like. It's going to look awesome. And we have some summer-themed captions that we created so that you can pretty this thing up even more with some vinyl. Okay, let's pop that in there. Let's put the backing on. I think that's right side up. Yep, it is. Close this up. All right, come on there. There we go. And I want to look at it first before I show you. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. There it is. All right, so that's going to do it. Again, there are some additional vinyl elements. I'm going to photograph this without the glass on it first because it's easier to photograph that way. But then I will also photograph it with some of the vinyl on there, the vinyl elements, so that you can kind of see. Obviously, we have some negative space up here and down here, so there's plenty of room to add your own captions too. You can customize this however you want with your own vinyl if you want, and that's going to do it. So I'm very pleased with this entire bundle actually, and this came out better than I anticipated, so awesome, very cool. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment, visit us on our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Official. That's where I hang out, that's where Mike hangs out, Diana hangs out, and the rest of our 40,000 fans hang out. So join us, get inspired, inspire us. It goes both ways. So can't wait to see you there. And as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.